All right, good evening, nerds around the world. Welcome to episode 120 of the Nerds Unite as One podcast. I am Paul English, your host tonight, and as always, we have a fantastic show for you, along with a terrific panel that I'm going to introduce to you, beginning with our buddy, Mr. Colton Hunt. How are you, sir?
Hey everyone, glad to be back. Feels like we haven't had a show in a while, or official one anyway. And this sounds like a pretty good interrogation topic for tonight, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Also joining us from Geek Salad, as always, we got Mike Gulick. What is going on, my friend?
Not too much. Not too much. How you guys doing?
We are doing fantastic. And take a look who's making the effort to show up tonight. He's back in New England. He's back home. It is our OG, our founder. His Wi-Fi may be shoddy right now, but hopefully it'll get better soon. The one and only Mr. Caleb Tuff. What is going on, my brother?
What's up, man? What's up, New England? Yeah, man, we back. We back up north. We back. I'm excited, man. The internet, it's not potato. It's actually good. It goes in and out. So if I leave and I don't come back, it's not because I left. But I'm super excited to be here. I'm not really prepared, but shoot, I'll wing it. So we'll go.
Don't tell us you're not prepared.
Well, no, I was really
Sorry, that was like I took my public speaking courses. My teacher always said, "Never tell us that you're not prepared." You know.
But no, I'm definitely excited to be back.
All right, guys. So I know y'all know how this format works. Since I don't think Caleb has done one of these. I'll fill him in real quick on the details. It's an interrogation episode. That means, based on the topic, we pick the title that we reveal, and then one at a time, we grill each other with questions about the topic. And since it's the month of Halloween, I figured we should do a Halloween-based topic. And this time, we're going to be interrogating each other about our favorite monster movies. To clarify, these are creature feature monster movies. We're not talking about the universal classic horror monsters. So with that said, let's jump right in. You know how this goes. So Colton, start it up. What is your movie of choice? What is your favorite monster movie?
In space, no one can hear you scream. Alien.
All right. Mike, what is yours?
The granddaddy of all summer blockbusters, Jaws.
All righty. Caleb, what is your pick for favorite monster movie?
Caleb.
Oh, hello.
Yeah.
Mine is there's The Thing. So
You didn't hear that,
That was
folks. John Carpenter's The Thing, the 82.
yes, that's right.
All right. And for me, it is one of the greatest B movies of all time, the original Tremors. They're under the ground. All right. Let's jump right in. Colton, you're on the hot seat first, my friend. Mike, why don't you get us started with what is your first question for Colton?
Okie dokie. So, can you really hear people scream in space? No, I'm kidding. What makes? I'm just go off the big one. What makes this one your favorite monster movie?
Well, for one matter, I think it's like one of the most, and it might not be the most violent or the most gory, but it's probably one of the most unsettling monster films I've seen. You know, we're in space. I mean, we're in the Nostromo, so there's very little space that very little places that our heroes can run from this thing, and it's also has a very claustrophobic feel to it, and that just heightens the tension. Since the alien, the xenomorph could be anywhere on that ship. Of course, the xenomorph has a classic design. And I just love the way that it just picks people up. It's very quick and efficient. It's not, like I said, it's not overly gory, but it's like the less we see, it actually makes it even more frightening, especially when Parker and Lambert kill. We don't see a fish. We don't really get a clear view as to what it does to them, but judging from Burpee's response, it wasn't anything pretty, and it just really sends a shiver up my spine, So it makes this thing one of the most classic horror movie monsters everywhere of all time, and I really wish that at some point we get another Alien movie that really captures just how terrifying the xenomorphs are again. I was hoping Alien Covenant was going to be that film, but, well, we all know how that turned out.
Okie dokie. Nice question, Mike. Normally I would go to Caleb with this one for this next one, but he's still new to this, so I will start off just so he has more of an idea what we're doing here.
Just a couple of questions, Paulie.
Oh, okay then. Then go right ahead. What's your first question?
I improvise, my friend. I'm good. Colin, I want to say we haven't had a good Alien movie since Aliens, so it's been a long time. My thing is, I want to know, what is your favorite scene involving, the xenomorph and alien? Because to me, it's not even my favorite scene. It's not even when you see the actual full-grown alien. I know this is gonna sound cliche, but my favorite scene is the chestburster scene. That's my favorite scene in the original Alien, because I felt like I couldn't eat for a couple of days because I was like, is this gonna make something like, what I'm saying? Like, so I'm just wondering, what scene to you is your favorite and why?
My favorite is when the xenomorph or alien, whatever, it's when it kills Parker and Lambert. It's like we see Lambert, they're trying to get supplies to get out the ship, but suddenly Lambert turns around and she does a double take and she sees the alien is right there. Then we hear it's like right behind her and it's approaching her, and then the musical score is just epic. It just really shows just how terrifying the xenomorph is. And Ripley, she's sprinting, running as fast as she can to get there as first Parker gets killed by the xenomorph, and then the xenomorph turns back to Lambert, and then she's like, no! And then we just cut back to Ripley running at top speed as we hear Lambert's cries over the intercoms, the speakers, and then suddenly she lets out one more scream, and then the xenomorph roars, and then bam, it's dead silence. Then Ripley comes up, and Ripley finally reaches where Parker and Lambert is, and then, like I said earlier, she just shudders at what she sees. And we only get like a very brief glance at what happened. We see Parker slumped against the walls, and it looks like Lambert's been hung upside down. We don't know what happened to her, but it couldn't have been anything pretty. And I just really always just keep wondering, just what the hell did that thing do to her before it killed her? It really doesn't help that we see, like, right before it kills her, that we see its tail like reaching behind her back and all that jazz, and then it's a very unsettling image and probably one of the most unsettling deaths I've ever seen.
Okay. All right. Nice question, Caleb. Nice question. All right, Colby, here's my question. I've never seen any of the Alien movies. As you all know, I'm not a big fan of horror films. But, Mike, as I understand it, only once in the entire saga of these movies has they ever mentioned the creature's species, which is xenomorph. So my question is, how do they know what this species is? Like, do they discover it in the first movie, or is it in another movie?
Actually, xenomorph is, from what I've learned, xenomorph is an actual term. It means foreign contaminant or something like that. But when they use, so that's how they described the xenomorphs in the second movie. It was only briefly once, and apparently, since no one really knew what xenomorph meant, it just happened to catch on as the species name amongst fans, from what I'm aware of. But officially, yeah, there was never ever, and like in every other movie past that, no one ever says xenomorph again. It's just they refer to them as those things, aliens, serpents, yada yada. Though, depending on who you ask, like some supplemental material does go back to saying that xenomorph is their official name, but there was never really an actual official moment where they learned what their species name was. Because as far as we all knew, in the first Alien film, this was the first contact between humans and those things.
I suppose Ridley Scott will have to address that at some point. Alrighty then.
He kind of did in a half-assed way in Prometheus and Alien Covenant, but I'm preferring not to think about those ones.
Fair enough. Okay, Mike, you're up. What's your next question?
I certainly remember the first time I saw Alien, and there are quite a few jump-worthy moments, quite a few like just sudden scares. What is the one that really stands out the most to you? I know there are at least 3 or 4, maybe 5 that I can think of. What's the one that most stands out to you?
And I think the one that probably stands out most to me is, so they've jury-rigged this makeshift motion tracker. They're trying to track down. It's like they don't know the xenomorph can grow at an accelerated rate, so they think they're just tracking down the tiny little chest burster, and then they think they have it. I think they have it in their sights, so they think it's behind a corner or something. So they're about to make their grab for it, and then suddenly Jones the cat just comes rushing out. It's like a giant. It's like it was pretty much probably one of the earliest instances of a cat jump scare and whatnot. And like. We're all probably as freaked out as the crew of the Nostromo was. They're like, "Damn it, Jones!"
And then we lost Harry Dean Stanton.
Yeah. And then, of course, afterwards, Jones kind of winds up causing more trouble because Brett has to go searching for him, and then once he thinks he's found Jones, once he finds Jones, he's like, "Here, kitty, kitty, kitty," and then Jones is like backing away from him. He doesn't know why and then he turns around and, of course, he sees the fully grown alien right behind him, which was also a very effective reveal. I mean, it wasn't like a jump scare or anything like that, but it was a good way to, reveal the fully grown xenomorph in all its terrible H.R. Geiger glory, or Geiger, whatever.
I think it's Giger. And
okay.
he is one messed up son of a bitch, I'm not going to lie.
No, the most messed up sons of bitches give us the most... visually, give us the most creative stuff in Hollywood sometimes.
Good point.
Okay, well done. Caleb, you wouldn't happen to have another question for Colton, would you?
I mean, okay. I mean, I guess we can ask this. I'm not sure who your favorite. I guess tell me who your favorite a character is in the movie and why. And if it's Ripley, someone other than Ripley, because she's most people's favorite. So.
Oh yeah, because she's the main character. But so I don't know. If I had to pick another character that I liked, this will sound weird, but I'd probably actually maybe pick. Well, no, actually, no. Hold on, let me think for a second. I'd probably maybe pick Lambert, to be honest. I think she's an example of a hysterical character done right, so to speak. She's obviously she's very scared, but it's not. It's the kind of like freaking out that doesn't make you want to slap her or anything, or like leave you begging for the alien to finish her off or something. It's pretty realistic, and she does get in a moment where she helps out, when Ash is like malfunctioning and everything, she just takes one of their weapons and just jams it into the guy to shut him down. That was pretty awesome. Well, then again, Ash is also a pretty cool character. I mean, granted, he is the villain, but yeah, actually, let me switch it. Yeah, my second favorite character beyond Ripley is Ash. We don't know he's an android or a robot at first, but there's something somewhat unsettling about him at first. When the xenomorph when the chest burster bursts out of that guy's chest, he's like, don't touch it, and then before letting it go, and then once his true intentions are revealed and he starts to malfunction, he like almost strangles Ripley to death, and then but even while he's doing it, it's like he's not having a freak out, so to speak. He's almost pretty stoked about it until Parker like tries to attack him, and then he starts really suffering a breakdown, and then after he's been like decapitated and all that jazz, they return him back on, and they ask him how can they kill the alien and everything. How they can kill the alien, and he says, he says it can't be killed, and it was the perfect organism, and he says, Ripley's like, you admire it, and he's more or less says yes. And then right before they turn off, he says, although I doubt your chances, you have my sympathies, even though it seems like a pretty hollow sympathy greeting. It's like I guess it's this way of saying, I like you guys, but yeah, you're basically all fucked.
Okay. Oh, jeez. I really don't have another question. I think that was about the alien. That was really my only question. So I'm good on this one, actually. Only had one this time around. Sorry to say. So let's move it along then. Mike.
Well, hold on. Before we move it on, then let me say one more thing about alien. Then something else would be visit the space jockey or engineer, as we later they're called, visit the engineer ship, the space jockey ship on LV 426. I think this is the planet. When they go in, it's probably one of the most unsettling things I've seen in a film. The ship is huge, it's very dark, and when they see the fossilized space jockey, we don't know what happened to it. All we know is that something apparently burst out of its chest, and of course, it's like a good preview of coming events. And the musical score is just fantastic. It just gives a very unsettling, we shouldn't be here sort of feel. And as they, and of course, being 1979, this is all practical and all that jazz. It adds to the atmosphere, I'd say. And then, of course, let's see, what's his name? What was the name of the guy that gets infected with the xenomorph?
Kane.
Once Kane goes down to the bottom of the ship and he sees all those xenomorph eggs, of course, like an idiot, he looks directly at one of them, and bam, he gets face hugged. And of course, we're all used to the whole surprise facehugger attack by now, but back then that had to have been quite the surprise, as we had no idea what would be in store for us. And once he gets that thing attached to him and they try taking it off, it's it bleeds acid, a perfect defense mechanism, and then it just keeps getting worse for our heroes from that point on. So yeah, that's my last thoughts on
that. Mike, did you have another question?
No, I didn't really have it on that. Actually, he pretty much just answered it.
Okay, then. Caleb, I don't suppose you had another question for Colton, did you?
No, I don't, Paulie.
Alrighty then. Mike, ready or not, the hot seat is now waiting. It's now for you. So, Colton, you're up. What is your first question for Mike about his movie?
Okay, so Jaws. We all know that the iconic use of nothing is scarier for Jaws is because technical issues. They can never get the shark to properly work and all that jazz. But they had to show us the shark eventually. So my question is, what do you think of the shark's design? I mean, we all know Marty McFly's famous line from Back to the Future 2, "Shark still looks fake." But what do you think? Do you think the shark is still intimidating looking, or is it just like a silly prop and they would have been better off just never showing it?
I think that Jaws, if Jaws didn't exist, then Alien wouldn't exist, because they had the same issue with Alien. When they had the full alien costume on the guy and they showed it in a full camera, it was like, that doesn't really look good. Maybe we should choose the Jaws method and show less is more. But as far as the actual shark goes, I've never really had an issue with it, because pretty much all along, all throughout the movie, up until the point where you do actually first see it with, why don't you come down here and show this shit, and then we're going to need a bigger boat. That's the first time you see the shark for real. And up until that point, it's really kind of been built up as this almost, it's a shark, but it's almost like a mythical shark. It's like a larger-than-life demonic killer. So I never really, going throughout the movie, I never really expected it to look like a normal shark. I expected it to look like this huge monstrosity of a beast, because that's really kind of one of the things we've been building it up to be.
Okay, cool.
Okay, very good, very good. Mr. Caleb, do you
What's
have
up?
a question for Mike?
Oh, Jaws. Okay, so we're talking about the first one and not all of its shitty sequels, right?
Just a good one, yes.
The actual good one. Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool. Like, I mean, like, I guess I'll ask, the obvious question: why Jaws? What about Jaws made you pick it over the, thousands of other monster movies and monster creatures that you could have chose from? Just why?
Well, because like I implied with Jaws being, if Jaws didn't exist, then Alien might not have the same effect. It's really kind of the first. Yeah, they've been like monster movies, but they've all been like B schlocky, crickets on a postcard type effects. This is the first one that, like, you know what? This is a movie that they can take a monster movie. They can do it seriously. They can hide the monster. They can hide the scares. but still make them effective, still make the story and the characters solid, people that you actually care about. So, I mean, honestly, in my personal opinion, if Jaws didn't exist, then we wouldn't have had Alien. We wouldn't have had The Thing. We wouldn't have had we wouldn't have had Tremors. I think this is the granddaddy of them all. I mean, we may have had them eventually, or certainly certain variations of them, but this is the movie that proved you can do it. You can do it right. You can do it effectively. You can do it that people will pay money to see. And yeah, that's. And I gotta be honest. This was not the first Jaws movie I saw. First Jaws movie I saw was Jaws 3.
Damn.
I was.
No, you're not scared of that thing.
Yeah, I was like.
But though, at least it wasn't Jaws 4, The Revenge. Oh,
Honestly,
how old were you when you saw Jaws 3?
I was like 5 or 6. All right, it was like one of the first.
Okay, it's not that bad. Though.
It was one of the first VHS that my parents ever rented, and I remember I was out sitting on the living room floor, sitting up watching this, and I remember the moments. Oddly enough, this part sticks in my mind. They were like in one of the underwater tunnels, and they find one of the bodies that the mother shark is killed. And after that, I ran out of the room. I could not watch, and for at least 10 years after that, I had occasional nightmares about Jaws chasing me down our very long driveway. We have a very long driveway. So, yeah, that one kind of stuck out to me. But eventually, I chose, you know what? I'm gonna conquer this. And I watched the first movie, and I was just blown away. This was nothing like Jaws 3. Thank goodness. This was a movie that had the quality and had the effectiveness that we wanted, and that it hooked me.
All right. Very good question, Gail. Okay, Mike. My first question is this. As many of us know, you mentioned that Jaws was like the granddaddy of all modern monster movies. I would also make the argument Jaws was also the architect of the effect of the less you see of him, the better. It's what you don't see that makes it scary. And it's gotten to the point where this, I guess, cliche, you could say, of monster movies or horror movies has been done to death. They're kind of like every creature, every horror movie basically does this effect now. So my question is, after 40 years later, maybe it's been done better. It's certainly been done worse. Why do you think the effect of not showing the creature in its entirety until the very end still works, at least for this movie?
For this movie especially, I mean, yeah, obviously, like Colton said, the shark was not working. The shark was a mess until they finally got him, until they finally got the scenes that they needed with the shark, robot. It was a mess, but why it's so effective in this movie especially is because, I mean, yeah, it's almost a cliche to say that the imagination could come up with a lot bigger scares than any movie could show you, and it's true. But I think it's especially true in this one because it's in the ocean. Everyone loves to go down to the ocean. They're swimming in the water, swimming on the beaches. They love spending their time there, spending the summer. But when you're swimming on the top of the water, everyone in their mind, they always think, I wonder what's underneath me that I can't see. And they know, I mean, people have known about sharks for, centuries, obviously. And so they know that there are giant things with teeth out there that can kill you. Mm-hmm. And everyone, whenever they're swimming in that, they may be having the time of their lives swimming in that ocean. But in a part, there's a small section of their mind that's saying, I wonder if there's one of those big old things underneath me that's looking up at me and saying, I'm kind of hungry. And so what Jaws did was it just took all those fears that everyone always has and said, you know what? Here it is. Face it. And that's why it's so effective, because it took something that, I mean, no one's, I love Alien to death, but no one's ever thinking, you know what? I wonder if I go into space and there's going to be an alien that can plant its egg in my chest and then burst out. Nobody thought about that until Alien showed it to you. But with Jaws, everyone knew about sharks. Everyone knew they're in the ocean where people are in the ocean. Now, you go in the water, the shark's in the water. Our shark. Farewell and adieu to your fair Spanish ladies. Sorry. But yeah, that's why dude, it's Quint. Come on.
Okay.
That's why I think Jaws did it so well and so effectively from the beginning, because it just took what everyone already had a fear of and it just brought it right out in the open.
I think what's even more scary about it is the fact that you could get dragged underwater by the shark and nobody would notice for like a few minutes or so. Like
Dude, right it opens with a girl being dragged around, flashed back and forth, saying, "God help me, God please," no more. And then next time you see her, you see an arm.
That still sends chills up my spine. You know, yeah, it's like one minute she's begging for help, but the next there's nothing. And the fact that we all have like a fear of drowning and whatnot, that makes it even more scary.
Yeah. I guess Spielberg was one of the people that was dragging her back and forth.
What?
I guess Spielberg himself was one of the people that was dragging her back and forth.
I mean, am I missing a reference or something?
No. Spielberg was one of the people under the water dragging the actors back and forth.
Okay.
Interesting. I did not know that. Yeah. All right. Colton, did you have another question?
Well, I was gonna ask. Yeah, I have a question. We might have just mentioned it, but just in case, what would you consider to be the scariest death in the film?
The scariest death or the scariest moment?
Death.
The scariest death is definitely Chrissy's right in the beginning, because it's just opening. It's nice party on the beach. They're going out skinny dipping. This is a fun, quiet day, and then boom. You don't know what happened. She just jerks down, and then the scene goes on. I mean, that's just abrupt. You're just thrown in point blank. Okay, yeah. Guess what? There's something underwater that's killing people. Deal with it.
Yeah. What would you say the scariest moment is then?
For me, the scariest moment was when Hooper is investigating the ruined boat, like first thing in the morning, and that head just pops into the hole, and eye is missing, and he just freaks out, and I freaked out too. That was a huge jump scare for me. That really got me. Yeah, actually, it got me the first 5 or 10 viewings of it too. I know it's coming now, but it was still very effective.
Definitely.
Okay, good one. Caleb, do you have another question for Mike?
All right. Well, I think this is a pretty obvious answer, probably. But I haven't seen Jaws in a long time, so forgive me. I believe my favorite line in the entire movie is probably the most famous line. I think it's "chew on this, you motherfucker." If that's what he said, I can't remember exactly what the line is.
You son of a bitch!
Is that your favorite line in the entire? Yeah, you son of a bitch. There we go. Is that your favorite line? Is there another one that you like more? So.
That's up there. That's one of my favorite lines. But I think my favorite line is "You're gonna need a bigger boat," because that's that's when you realize they are not equipped to handle this. They're under-equipped. Quint doesn't want to realize it. Hooper doesn't realize it yet, but Brody knows it, and they're all screwed basically.
Definitely, especially since they're all out in open water, miles away from anybody. It's like one of the worst places you could possibly be in the middle of a shark hunt.
Yeah.
They really made the water terrifying, to say the least.
Yes, they did.
Okay. All right. I have a question. It's kind of a long-winded one. So I think a part of the reason this movie may have done so well was that without a doubt, Steven Spielberg. He's an incredibly talented director. We all know that. But even though this was not his first movie, I know this was not his first movie. I think by this time he was still a relative unknown. So Universal, whatever studio was financed the movie. They probably weren't checking on it. They probably gave him a little freedom. Just, hey, listen, kid, just do what you want. Got a low budget, just do what you want with it. So my question to you is, do you think this movie could have become the landmark cultural icon that it is today if a more established director if anyone besides Spielberg had taken it on, and maybe the studio had more of an eye on him?
That is a good question. This was actually his second. It was his third official theatrical movie. He did 2 TV movies before this one, but I think his first one was Duel, and which definitely has shades of Jaws in it. And then the next one was Sugarland Express, which does not have shades of Jaws. But I don't think it would have been. I think if you gave it to a more established director, they would have used different techniques. And they probably would have gone with different actors that wouldn't have, by far, the most famous scene and the most beautiful scene in Jaws is when all 3 of them are on the Orca, and Quint does his Indianapolis story. By far, that is a beautiful, wonderful scene, and that scene was, at least a good chunk of it, written by Robert Shaw, the actor who played Quint. So I'm pretty sure if you'd gone with a different director, a more experienced director, you probably would have wanted more experienced actors. I mean, Robert Shaw had been around for a while, but I know he wasn't the studio's first choice, so they would have gone with someone else, and I believe, and that scene would not have played out as well. I know. Not Roy Scheider. Richard Dreyfuss. I know Richard Dreyfuss was not the original choice to play Hooper. Off the top of my head, I don't know who it was, but I know he was not. And I think the primary reason that movie works so well is the relationship between those 3 actors, especially the second half of the movie. And I don't think, you could get another director would have gotten a good scenes out of them, but they would have cast different characters, and I don't think they would have given quite the right impact they needed from those scenes. And honestly, a lot of this movie works because it was done kind of on the fly, by the seat. They had to do scenes a certain way because they couldn't get the shark to work. Your more experienced director would have had like shark footage put in there. They would have had a small, maybe a less complicated shark maquette. Maybe they wouldn't have even given the movie the seriousness that it was due, and so it could have come off just as a schlocky B movie, and it certainly would have owned the summer. It wouldn't have become the very first summer blockbuster. So I think, honestly, this movie is a perfect storm of Spielberg being a relatively fresh-faced, relatively new director. The combination of, Roy Scheider, Richard Dreyfuss, Robert Shaw, all 3 R's, which is weird. You also have Lorraine Gray, is that her name? Playing Mrs. Brody. Damn it! That's gonna bug me now. Hold on, 1 second. I'm pulling this up. Yeah, this makes for great podcasting, doesn't it?
You're correct, Lorraine Gray.
Lorraine Gray. Okay, yeah. She was fantastic. She was really a linchpin. I think her role was. I think people overlook her a lot of times because she was in the one that we shall not be named. Which, to be honest, I kind of prefer Jaws: The Revenge over Jaws 3, although that might also be childhood trauma talking.
That was the last.
Nothing to have an impact on you.
Jaws: The Revenge was the last movie she acted in, so wow, before she retired.
And that was also Michael Caine was in that movie.
And he's never seen it from what I've read, but he says he's seen the house it paid for.
Yeah. He declined showing up to the Academy Awards to accept a best supporting actor or best actor Academy Award because he was in Bahamas shooting that movie, and he admits he did it for the money. And you know what? I can totally see that. But anyway,
enough to admit it.
Yeah, you gotta pay the bills somehow sometimes.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like I was saying, Jaws is like the perfect combination of just things that just went wrong, but ended up being right. And without all that perfect storm, it would not have turned out to be what it was, and the history of cinema would have been very, very different. So apologies for going long-winded on that one, but that's it.
Oh no, that's quite all right. That's quite all right. And I for those of us who may not have been here for so long, yes, Mike has a whenever Mike sees something that scares him, it does have a habit of affecting his movie shows. Like, all I have to do is just point this up real quick, he gets scared. So I mean, yeah.
Is it still up?
I think all of us are like that, to be honest.
Okay. No, he put it away.
It's also the reason why I prefer Star Trek 4 over Star Trek 2.
Yeah, those are little earwig thingies.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
All right. Colton, did you have another question?
Kind of. So out of all the deaths in Jaws, the one that I just can never watch, the one I can't watch without feeling sick to my stomach is when Quint dies. What do you think of that death?
I got to be honest, that's the one moment where I kind of wish there were a little bit better effects, because seeing the shark just as Quint like slowly slides down into his mouth, I'm like, that's not how great white sharks work. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't
Sharknado bad.
No, certainly wasn't. No, this even the worst scene in this one is 100 times better than Sharknado. But once Quint actually gets into the mouth and he's being thrashed about, and he's like the blood's coming up. That is a pretty I mean, it's an intense death, and I think it needs to be intense because it's the Captain Ahab moment. It's the Captain Ahab being killed by Moby Dick moment. I mean, it's the reason why Quint makes sure that their life vests for Hooper, and he makes sure that Brody puts one on. He doesn't put one on because he knows if he's going down, he's going to be killed by something he's hunting. That's his character. Ever since that story he told on the Indianapolis, that however he's going to go down, a shark was going to be his end. That it's just like the two sides of the same coin, honestly, in a way. But I will say I do prefer that death over how he dies in the book. I have read the book, and this is one of the few cases where the book is nowhere near as good as the movie.
How's it been in the book?
Wait. We're going to have a troll moment.
Hi.
Chris, how are you?
Nice for you to join us.
You good, gentlemen? What's going on?
I'm talking about Jaws.
Yes.
Do you have anything bad to say about Jaws?
No. I have nothing
Good.
bad.
Yeah, no. How Quint dies in the book is it basically it is literally a Moby Dick moment. He throws a harpoon into the shark, the rope gets tangled around his foot, and he gets dragged into the water, and he drowns.
Wow.
And actually, how the shark dies is even worse. He's like charging at he killed Hooper dies in the book. Actually, the Hooper almost died in the movie too. That was a behind the scenes thing. Anyway,
he was supposed to die, but then like something went wrong, and the shark or some shark they got destroyed the cage before Hooper got into it. So they figured, okay, the cage is wrecked, so we'll just let Hooper live or something.
Now the footage that they shot in I think South Africa of the actual great white sharks, they had the shark actually got into the cage and like kind of not got into the cage, but you wrecked the cage, and they saw the footage like that's great footage. There's no one in the cage, so I guess Hooper got out before the cage was wrecked. So because of that footage, Hooper survived in the movie, but in the book, the shark is just charging at Brody. He doesn't have a gun. He doesn't have any air tanks. He's just floating air. And then right as he gets there, he up and dies from all his injuries and just floats and sinks away.
Wow.
Yeah. Anticlimactic in the extreme. That's why I really freaking hate. Oh yeah. Plus in the book, Hooper and Brody's wife were having an affair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard that everybody is a terrible character in the book, basically.
Yeah, it's not a good book. It's not a good book at all.
Okay. Well, I don't have any more questions. Caleb, you wouldn't happen to have any more questions, would you?
I just have a quick thing. Mike, is this your favorite Spielberg movie? I know that's a hard question because he's the GOAT.
That is a very hard question. Spielberg directed.
Yeah. Spielberg directed. Yeah. This is a struggle.
And which of his cousins does he love more?
That is a Sophie's Choice question right there. I mean, look at this. E.T., Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones and the Lost Crusade.
Right. Mine is Indiana Jones. Yeah.
Jurassic Park. Oh, damn.
Jurassic Park. It's not one of my favorites, but something like E.T. for you guys because, you guys like that, so.
E.T. is up there.
You
know what? I think I will say this is probably my favorite Spielberg movie, but you know what? Ask me again tomorrow and maybe a completely different answer.
Right.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. That's a hard one, man.
Yeah, it's one of those things for me. It's like, what's your favorite Star Wars movie, or what's your favorite this? It can change every day.
Also, do you count Poltergeist and Gremlins? Because I've heard that he was a very, very hands-on producer for those ones.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I heard that too.
But I right now, this season, getting close to Halloween, I'm gonna say yes, Jaws.
Okay.
Again,
cool.
You ask me a different time, and I may have a different answer.
Right.
Okay. Mike, you have survived the hot seat.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Caleb now. Are you ready for the interrogation, sir?
Yeah, I guess.
All right. You know what, Chris? Since you were so late to the party, why don't you get us started? His movie is The Thing, the 1982 one, directed by John Carpenter.
Yes.
Why don't you get us started? What is your first question for Caleb?
Yeah. Well, John Carpenter is famously known as a cult director. He's of course, he's made such, staples of the genre, of the horror genre, basically like horror. Halloween and so forth. And of course, he just remade The Thing, which is based off a 1951 movie. Would you say this is your favorite John Carpenter movie overall?
Absolutely, 100%. It used to be Halloween. You know, it's funny. My two favorite horror movies um The Thing and the Halloween. Absolutely, I love this movie. You know, it's funny. I didn't see this movie for a long time. I started in 2013, and I watched it like 5 times in a row. I love this movie so much because the special effects are so good. The story's good. I love the characters. I love Kurt Russell. He is so freaking good in this movie as R.J. McQuarrie. I think it's McQuarrie. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I just that they set the atmosphere. You know how they feel so alone. They don't know who to trust, who's who. And again, the best part about this movie is the special effects. They look like they're like this film came out in 1982, and they look like they're from today. They are so good, so amazing, and yeah, absolutely, Chris, 100% my favorite John Carpenter. I mean, John Carpenter is my favorite director of all time. So,
Okay, cool. Well, Steven
Right here. Right here.
Big Trouble, another John Carpenter movie.
The best right here.
He has so many good movies. I love a lot of his movies. So,
All right. Colton, you're up. What's your first question for Caleb?
Okay, so when my parents saw this movie back in the day, they said that the effects were so disgusting, people actually ran out the theater in terror. So my question to you is, do you think the effects are really that frightening?
I just the thing about the effects, and you know, God bless Rob Bottin. I've seen so many documentaries about how he did special effects and how they had to do everything in one take, because they were so precise. They're just so lifelike. They just look so real, and the thing just every time that he gets found out and he transforms, it just looks so lifelike and so creepy and honestly gross. Like when that guy, when his stomach opens up and he bites that guy's hands off, and how his like head comes off and he like grows, and just so good. So yeah, I mean, I can see why that would happen, and because they're just so lifelike. That's why they're so good. It's what makes the movie so good.
Cool.
Okay. Mike, you're up. What is your first question for Caleb?
All right. My first question is McCready or Childs, or both, or neither?
Childs. I'm gonna say Child. The ending of this movie, man, it's so like I like the ending and how it's so open ended. Like, do you know? I don't think McCready was ever assimilated. I don't think he ever was, but I think Child was, because if you look at the end, you kind of see that look in his eye. But I definitely think he was the thing. And after you actually saw him, you know, like fully transform a few scenes earlier, it's just like, you know, if you're McKeady, you're probably thinking, will this fucking thing just die already, like, and just go away? So, it sucks we never saw a sequel, but you know, we got that shitty prequel.
Yeah.
That was all we got. But yeah, no,
Okay.
There's
that's my
a
thoughts.
video game that kind of functioned as a sequel also.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So my first question is, and I suppose this is kind of the obvious one.
Have you ever seen this movie, Paulie?
No, I have not. I do not like horror movies. Remember?
I know.
You don't have to. Gotta try some
I know.
horror movies. You don't have to be an absolute fan, but you know, check some entries.
The closest I've ever gotten to are like some M. Night Shyamalan thrillers. You know, The Sixth Sense.
Jaws either, Paulie, right?
What?
Have you seen any of our movies, Paulie? I'm just wondering.
I've seen bits and pieces of Jaws. That's about it.
Okay.
All right. So my question is kind of the obvious.
Caleb, you and I have got to get him together and make him watch at least Jaws.
Some of these are like sci-fi. Like now, I mean, right? I understand, just like, but some of these are just so important to cinema. But
All right. So
I understand.
my
I understand.
And
Go ahead, Paul. Go ahead.
It's kind of the obvious. is kind of the obvious one, but why this movie? Of all like the hundreds of horror creature features, why this movie?
I mean, it just something about this movie probably just it.
Carolina
it
sucks,
speaks to-
Colton.
Every time I watch it, I see something new, and I see something that that I didn't see before. And man, like John Carpenter is so detail oriented. He's such a damn good director. Like about how he got the characters to feel and how they actually felt on set. They like felt alone. It's so well directed. Amazing. The story's amazing. The character, just everything about this movie is it's literally perfect to me. It's the perfect creature feature, and like I said, the effects they just put it over the top to me. Like the effects are so good that on top of all that other stuff, it sealed the deal for me when I saw it. So, but it is gross. It's definitely gross. So if you see it, it's definitely gross.
Okie dokie. All right. Chris, back on to you. Do you have another question for Caleb?
Yeah. It's just like, there have been many iconic movie monsters for our motion picture history. There's the xenomorph from Alien, the shark from Jaws, even King Kong, even Godzilla. Of all the, yes, you chose this as your. I mean, you say, is this? I mean, would the thing in the movie, the title character, be your favorite movie monster of overall? If so, why is it your favorite movie monster? What's it about him that frightens you? What is it that of all the movie monster, of all the monsters in cinema history?
I mean, my favorite thing about The Thing is honestly, you don't know where it could be, who it could be. You don't know. It makes a perfect copy, a perfect replica. And I find that so fascinating and interesting. Like, I could be standing next to you, Chris, and I've known you for years. Yeah, we've never met in person, but we've talked enough where you would know, hey, we're talking. Would you know it was me if it was a perfect, like interpretation into what's sort of word I'm looking for? I can't remember now, but just yeah, you know what I'm saying, like a perfect copy, and that just it fascinates me. Who knows who knows where it could be, and that's what's scary about it, if that were to ever happen. Like if we had Jaws, or if we had an alien, it would suck. But we would at least know where, what the alien looks like and everything. With The Thing, anybody could be The Thing. Anything, dog, animal, human, whatever. It doesn't matter, and that's so creepy and weird to me because it's kind of like the Horcruxes in with Voldemort. You have to kill everything that's been so many. You have to kill them all, or it's still going. It's like a virus, So that's what fascinates me the most is you don't know who it could be or what it could be at any time, and that's what's scary about it. If that would ever happen, if that was to ever get out of Matt, we'd be fucked. We'd be totally fucked. At least with an alien, it would probably kill a lot of people, but eventually it would go down. With The Thing, it's gonna spread like the plague. So I think it's the worst. Out of the ones we chose, it would be the worst to ever happen. Easily.
That's a great response. Interesting. Wow.
All right. Okay. Colton, did you have another question?
Okay, so I've read that at the end of the movie there is supposed to be this large battle between The Thing and McReady, but like everyone else's movies, it couldn't happen because they just didn't have the money or the technology to pull it off. So instead, we just got that very brief moment where we see The Thing in all its monstrous glory right before Kurt Russell just blows it the fuck up. My question to you is: did you think that was kind of an anticlimax, or did you like it, or did you feel like it just served as part of the story and the ambiguous nature of the ending salvaged things?
Well, the ending, like that part of the ending, I'm glad that they gave us at least that one shot, where it's like fully transformed, man, it looks fucking awesome, dude. Like, if you saw that, no, I ain't fucking with that, dude. But they set up RJ so good in the movie, Kurt Russell's character. I kind of felt like, okay, he has a plan. He knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he needs to do. And I understand, like with all these movies, it's the vein of the movie. I mean, and again, you hardly see you see like people transform and you see those effects, but you were never gonna see the full thing. So, but I mean, I understand why you did it. Yeah, would you like to see a little more? But I understand why they did it, and it's never bothered me. So,
Okay.
because I'd rather them use the money for all those practical effects than like we got in the prequel and those awful CGI effects that were just freaking terrible. They were just so bad, and you can see why practical effects are always the way to go if you can afford it. It's way more money, but
Yeah.
It looks so much better.
All right.
I agree. I remember how in the prequel film, it's like they had the money to actually show what the thing looked like fully transformed, but it did not look scary in the slightest.
Like, if you don't mind, I'm going to go on a tangent on that. Have you seen the prequel film?
Yeah.
Can you remember when the first person transforms when they're in the helicopter? That shit looks awful. It's CGI blood. It looks so freaking terrible. It looks so bad. It's like, and you can see it's just CGI. I'm watching. I'm like, oh my god, this is so bad. And then I go back and watch the 82 film, 1982. That film came out in 2012 or 2012 or 2014. I can't remember. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It looks so bad. And I'm like, oh my god, how did the effects look so much better? Like 20 years ago. But it's
yeah,
because
and then there's this one scene where one thing monster attacks another guy and it fuses their bodies together and what?
No, I'm saying, isn't it when they like morph together?
Yeah, and I'm thinking this is less creepy and more looks like the thing is trying to make out with them or something like that.
So bad.
The prequel was 2011.
Right.
Yeah.
2011. Okay.
And I heard that they actually wanted to do practical effects, but for whatever reason, it was pretty much just CG for most of the movie, and it was very awkward to watch.
Yeah, just not good.
Okay, very good, very good. Mike, did you have another question for Caleb?
Yeah. Could you ever trust Wilford Brimley again? No, I'm kidding. Now, my question is, what do you think is the biggest scare moment in the thing? I know what it is for me, but what's your biggest scare moment?
Oh man. Wow. I mean, first time seeing it, I'll say this: it was definitely when the clear and he bites his hands off. I mean, that to me was on par with the alien chest burster scene, because that just comes out of nowhere. If you haven't seen this and you haven't been spoiled about that, and all of a sudden you're watching, oh la di da, okay, oh god, it looks like he's having his heart problem, and then oh fuck, what the fuck was that? Oh god. Ooh. I'm trying to think if anything beats that. Maybe the moment when they're testing everyone's blood, Mike, and Palmer's blood comes up that he's a thing, and then all of a sudden you look over, he's just sitting in his chair, and he's going crazy, and all of a sudden you see his like face split open.
Yeah, that's
so,
my moment.
Is it? Oh, I love that moment. Oh god. And like, because it's so bad, because everyone is literally tied to the chair with him, so they literally can't go anywhere. And they're like, get me the fuck out of this chair. Like, oh, it's so good. It is so good. Man, okay, you know what? The first time I saw it, the one that creeped me out the most because it was weird and it looked weird was when I can't remember who finds him, but the first guy that kind of gets assimilated, and you see like all the like the tentacles around him and like in his mouth and stuff. It just really creeped me out because I'm a very like claustrophobic person. It just made me like really grossed out. But it's really hard to pick. I mean, probably the getting his hands chopped off, but the Palmer scene is high up there. It's one of my favorites for sure. So
yeah, all right, a good one. Okay, so I can't recall if you answered this question earlier, but I think you mentioned how like you said that John Carpenter is one of your favorite directors and that you're a huge fan of a lot of his movies. Where would you rank
Definitely.
The Thing among like your favorite John Carpenter movies? Like, is it up at the top? Is it near the top?
Number one point. It's easily number one. Halloween's close. Halloween's close, boy. It's really hard. I love both those movies so much, but I mean, I've seen like like him and Kurt Russell kind of have a thing, and Attack on New York. Oh, God, what's it called?
Escape from New York.
Escape from New York. Thank you. God, I haven't seen that in so long.
Snake.
Precinct 13. Just so many movies I've seen, and I'm super excited. I know this is kind of off track, but I'm so excited that John Carpenter is executive producing the new Halloween movie. Can't wait for that. And Jamie Lee Curtis is coming back. Just I know that was off topic, but I'm super excited for that. But it just because John Carpenter excels.
Halloween things actually playing your job, Paul.
Have a good budget, Paul. That's what I love about him. He doesn't need, like Michael Bay, he doesn't need $150 million in order to make a good movie. He just makes a good fucking movie. Like, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't, okay, you're going to give me this. I'm going to work with what I have. And here's what we're going to do. I love the guy so much, and I just think he's one of the best, like, and not even horror directors, just the directors, period, of all time. So.
Okay, very good. Chris, did you have another question for Caleb?
I'm not really sure I do. I mean, I'm sure. I'll think of something. Come back to me if I have something. Yeah.
All right, Colton, did you have anything else?
Yeah, it's another effects related question. But what would you say is your favorite creature effect in this movie? Thing effect in this movie.
Oh my god. I hate to go back to the same thing, but no, probably my favorite effect, even though I love the hands getting chopped off again, it's got to be the Palmer head rip open and grabs Windows by the head. Shoot the Windows, and he just rips him around. I just think that scene is done so well because. After Palmer's character jumps up onto the ceiling and he's like shooting Windows, he literally jumps down and he stops for a second and just looks at him. And then when his flamethrower won't work, and then his head splits open and just grabs him. And then McCready has to kill him because he knows he's gonna get assimilated. So, and he literally tortures the man alive. So that creature moment is one that sticks to me because. And it's super gross, man. Can you imagine, like, just getting, like, your face, like, ripped off by that? Ooh, just gross.
Mike, did you have one more question for Caleb?
Nah, I'm good.
All right, my friend, you have survived the hot seat. Well done. All right, Chris, you are up now. So your movie was also Alien, I believe.
Well, actually, I kind of changed it,
Okay, what is it then?
King Kong, the original.
Oh, okay.
1933 one?
Yeah, huh? Yep, that one.
Okay, then this ought to be interesting. All right, guys. This is kind of really going to be improv, but Colton, do you have a question for Chris about that?
Okay. So, okay, what do you think of the movie's effects? Do you think they still hold up well today?
Looking at those effects, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just like it was basically, yeah. This movie was basically made 6 years after we had the first sound movie, with the jazz singer back in 1927. And film was rapidly advancing with new technologies and so forth and so on. Some of the effects can seem kind of creaky by today's standards. It kind of requires, a great suspension of disbelief. Yeah. The whole puppet of Kong is basically like that. So it's basically made with rabbit fur. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, this thing seems kind of hokey to do. Like I said, it requires a suspension of disbelief. But what works for me is the atmosphere of it, the suspense, the tone, the overall pacing. I mean, those effects can still be quite effective. I mean, it may not scare people as much as they used to, but it can kind of produce some fright. Just even looking at Kong, I mean, just like I said, he may not be somehow may not be as convincing as the monster. I mean, yeah, the effects may seem dated. I mean, I think it's the overall. I mean, they do have some kind of charm to them, some kind of geeky charm, I guess. I mean, but I think it's the adventure, the rhythm of it. I think that's what still keeps us drawn to this movie. Well, it isn't so much the effects; it's just like it's the atmosphere. It's just like the whole tone setting, and just that's what makes it work.
Okay. Mike, do you have a question for Chris about this one?
Yeah. This struck me in like when I saw the remake as well. I've always thought that the character of Jack is probably one of the most useless characters in all of cinema history.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of Jack?
I think he's he's not a bad character, at least from my point of view. I mean, sometimes he could say the most ridiculous things, I mean, it's just like, I mean, he could be as flat as a cardboard. I did not like how he was portrayed in the 2005 version, making him like a playwright or something like that. I think that made him even more useless or something. To me, he seemed like a stereotypical 1930s man in the first one, basically. I mean,
yeah, for me, in both movies, it's basically he just shows up at the end. The holder is like, "Thank God I saved you." It's like, yeah, you didn't do Jack, man.
Yeah, he definitely, did save her in that one, from Khan's lair in the first one, and of course, yeah. But I mean, he just can say he can kind of get his ass handed to him in a very violent way. Yeah, but when at the end in the finale, when Khan grabs Ann Darrow from the window, he tries to take a chair and just tries to hit her Khan's hand. Not effective. No. I mean, he's not one of my favorite characters in the movie, but I mean, I can tolerate him, but I wouldn't say he's not a character I'm enamored with.
Fair enough.
Okay. Caleb, are you still there? And if so, do you have a question for Chris about this movie? I'm gonna know that. Okay. All right, then. Fair enough. Okay, so I guess my first question, and this is kind of the obvious one. Why this movie in particular? I don't recall Kong being like a scary movie by any stretch. I mean, why, especially the original 33? Why this one in particular makes it your favorite creature feature movie?
I think it has to deal with that sense of awe. I think you're awed and thrilled by the journey you know, these characters undertake, taking yourselves into a remote island, you know, with primitive natives, you know, and some very interesting relics from the past, prehistoric creatures, you know, dinosaurs and so forth, and a giant ape, you know, who's obviously around over 10 feet, over 20, like he's 20 feet tall. You know, I think it's the atmosphere. It's the sense of adventure. You know, it's very mythic in sort of ways. You know, it's just, you know, I just something about it. It was done in a very simpler time. You know, this really was what, you know. This is what set the horror fantasy genre into motion. If without King Kong, we wouldn't have we wouldn't have Jaws. We wouldn't have Star Wars. You know, science fiction, fantasy movies. You know, whole science fiction, fantasy movies, the whole genre. You know, just like the modern blockbuster genre in general, just like owes a debt to this movie. Like modern special effects movies. You know, sort of. You know that link. You want to trace their lineage. Look no further than this movie. You know. I mean, and it is really a monster movie. I mean, it is kind of a monster movie. The thing about it is the monster in it has a soul, you know, basically. You know, I think that's what stands out. What makes it stand out about the monster movie is it really a typical monster? I think the monster himself would have to be civilization. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's where I'm going for. I mean, I think that's what. I mean, but it's like the atmosphere, you know, the wonder, the sense of adventure. You know, that's really, you know, yeah, there are better films, foreign films for far better special effects, but this one manages to bring that sense of excitement to you. You know.
Okay. All right. Colton, you're up again. Do you have another question for Chris?
Yes, my question is, so what would you say is your favorite part of this movie?
That is an interesting. No, that's an interesting question. I think my favorite part of it would have to be, I guess the finale. It's just like, I mean, I think the finale, that because we know that finale when he's on top of the Empire State Building, he's fighting the biplanes and so forth and so on. I mean, I guess that I think it's very symbolic. It's confining against, you know, his environment, I guess, so forth. The environment, you know, that he's been brought to. I mean, yeah, this is a creature eventually being brought by captivity, brought into captivity, you know, and put on an exhibition, being forced against his will, so to speak. You know, I mean, it's really the imagery of it, the pacing, the rhythm, you know, the pacing, the rhythm is I mean, yeah, it's a movie that was made over 80 years ago. Yes, we can no doubt about that. But that scene still sells it today. There's a magic about that, you know, other moments in movies lack. I mean, the movie has some. I mean, this is not just the movie. It's not the moment itself. The whole movie is magic. I mean, there's something magical about it, you know.
I know Paul said Paul said he'd be right back, but I do have. It's not so much a question, but a comment on what you said. It's like that the civilization is really kind of like the monster. I think it's more of like when you have like when you have King Kong in his own like land on Skull Island. Mm-hmm. He's not a monster. No. When you have civilization like by itself, it's not a monster. But when you combine the two, it's like the combination creates a monster, and that one, like, you know, civilization and like the almost native civilization cannot combine without one of them dying. It was a pretty intense movie. I mean, pretty scary for 1933 standards, at least. Anyway, yeah. I would say just. I mean, you just went on like what your favorite moment is. Like the whole Skull Island bit. That part is actually, you know, even today it's a pretty intense scene. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? Just that one part.
Like I say, I think it's the build up that what makes it work. You know, especially when you know you know, the one when they're approaching Skull Island and you know it's all foggy, you know, they're on the ship. The Venture is all foggy, you know. So that once they approach Skull Island, it's the build up. It's you know, it's a sense of discovery. You know, I think about it. You know, that really you know draws the viewer in. So you're about to discover something you hadn't seen before. I mean, that's what I think. That's the mastery of those scenes. You know, especially you know. Yeah, like some people may see silly. It's just like those. I mean, those scenes are like to me the most eventful of this. I mean, you know, you really get some really interesting moments, some great adventure moments. I would say King Kong is a great adventure movie, and that's also a great monster movie and so forth because it is there are on an adventure, there are on a sense of discovery, pretty much.
It's also probably why the original works so much better than all the remakes because. At the time, you were seeing something you'd never seen before.
Exactly.
But ever since then, you've seen it before, so it's not as good.
Right, pretty much. You know, yeah. And plus that Peter Jackson person, I feel, was a little too bloated.
It was way too long. Way too long. The whole giant insect things could have been taken completely out.
That was originally like a sequence in the original version.
And they decided, you know what? Let's take it out. It's better that way.
Yeah.
Peter Jackson, you know what? Let's put it in. It's better that way. No, it isn't, Peter. Nah, it isn't.
Oh my Lord.
All right. Okay, all right, you know, kind of off topic a little bit, but I don't know if you were around when I mentioned it. Did you see Nation of Kong, which was Skull Island, that came out this year? And if so, what did you think?
I mean, I haven't seen it. I've seen bits and pieces of the 1976 version, but the one of the incarnations of Kong I seen was the 2005 remake directed by Peter Jackson. Which
okay then.
Huh?
Okay, fair enough. Colton, did you have another question, or are we good with Chris?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Mike, did you have anything else?
Nah, I'm good.
All right.
Okay, then you are off the hot seat, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that means I'm on now. Okay. Chris, my movie is Tremors.
Okay.
In case you didn't. So, what is your first question?
Why did this piece of shit most of all? Just kidding.
Thank you. A little treat for you, audience.
You motherfuckers! This was a joke. Why would you torture me like you bastard?
Because it's good entertainment for the audience watching. That's why.
Well, okay. Being serious, and you know, I mean, Tremors. I mean, what was it about the movie? I mean, what things that it stands out? What's things that it stands out? I mean, to you. I mean, amongst all monster movies, what are the things that stand out to you?
Aside from the fact that it doesn't make me want to piss my pants like a lot of other monster movies,
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it has to do with. I think the biggest reason has to do with the chemistry between Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward. They are so enjoyable together. They are so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
And despite this movie having a lame budget by today's standards, I know it was like 27 years ago. I think the budget was like $. The Graboids look great. Even by today's standards, they still look good.
Mm-hmm.
They look better than a lot of the CGI we're getting today. I'll tell you that much.
Okay.
So yeah, that and the chemistry between the actors, I think, is what really makes this movie stand out.
All right, cool.
All right, Colton, Jin.
Okay, so I've never seen this movie. I saw that, but I did see the trailer for it just to sort of prepare my. Okay, Paul, you can't go shaking your head at me when you haven't seen Alien or The Thing. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a legitimate reason for that.
You're pretty-
Okay, I just said
You're
I'm scared
pitiful.
of monster movies.
You're pitiful.
But I've seen them both, and I've also seen Tremors, so
What was your legitimate reason for not seeing Alien or The Thing, Paul?
Which is, I don't like horror movies.
So, why'd you make this the subject of the episode? That I know it's all. Never mind.
Not
We
all
have topic.
monster movies are scary.
Well, anyway, my question for you is: so I watched the trailer for this movie, and it looked like a silly, fun, sort of loving tribute to the '50s B movie creature movies of the '50s and all that jazz. And would you say
It's pretty much.
would you say that they more or less succeeded on that front? And if so, like, what was your favorite sort of thing about it?
Well, I mean, given that I haven't seen a whole lot of like those 50s B monster movies, except for like the giant ant from outer space, I think I've seen a good chunk of that movie. I do think they succeed. I mean, granted, I mean, they're supposed to be taken as a real threat, but at the same time, it's not meant to be taken too seriously. There is a huge tongue-in-cheek aspect to it. There's some great comedy. And like I said, you know, the chemistry between the actors is just wonderful. So, I mean, there is a good bit of comedy. There's some lightheartedness to it, despite it being, you know, a monster threat. I mean, these graboids are intimidating creatures. They're supposed to be played that way, but aspect to it, you know, it's not meant to be taken that seriously. It's supposed to be like, you know, a fun little tee-hee-ha-ha creature feature movie. And I think they did it perfectly.
Cool.
Mike, what is your first question?
First, minor comment. I've always thought that the fact that they did not kill off Melvin was one of the biggest crimes of that movie. I friggin' hated that kid.
Especially how annoying he was in the third one.
I never even watched the third one because I knew he was a big part of it.
Nah, not really.
Not
as big as you would like to believe, probably.
Yeah. I do love this movie. I was surprised how much I loved this movie when I first saw it. But I know what is your favorite moment of the movie? There are a lot of really good moments. I know one of my I'm just kind of maybe get your juices flowing. One of my favorite moments is when you know, they're running down that wooden sidewalk in front of the store, and you just see the boards coming just bumping up and down. That's just a really cool scene.
Yeah,
it's a very Jaws moment where they're showing the effects and not the monster.
Wow, because there are a lot of really, really good moments that I could point to, like Val racing for the tractor and the graboids coming after him. Really pumps me up is the movie we see how Val and O just kind of tease Bert and Heather for like their paranoia, their gun obsession. But when you see them just kicking some graboid ass, got all those firearms, they all come in handy. I love that. And then the line he drops at the end of it, broke into the wrong goddamn rec room, didn't you, you bastard? Yes!
Elephant gun, nice.
Right there. Yes. That whole scene, like their firefight, that just gets me pumped up every time. I love that scene.
All right, cool.
All right. Chris, do you have another question?
Who was your favorite character in this movie most of all? I mean, who's the character that stands out to you as a favorite, you know?
Oh, good Lord. I know this is kind of a cop-out, but I can't really pick between the two. I got to go Val and Earl. They were the centerpieces of the movie, and they worked so well together. It's kind of hard to, like, split the two apart. Like, one was better than the other. They were both perfect with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the coolest bromance I've ever seen. Like, the most naturally formed bromance I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
That took place in the West. Western bromance, baby. Okay. Colton, did you have another question?
Yeah, but first, quick fun fact. Apparently, Kevin Bacon, originally at the time this movie was made, he considered this to be a career low, and apparently screamed at his pregnant wife, "I can't believe I'm doing a movie about underground worms."
You ain't wrong there.
I wonder how he thinks about it now.
You ain't wrong there.
That's a good question, actually. But anyway, is there any part of the movie that you? I know I said this movie was like a silly throwback to to like B movies and all that jazz. But did you find any part of the movie to actually be kind of freaky or scary, maybe?
There were two that I found like kind of like, okay, that is just messed up. And they're both kind of like the first third of the film. The first one is when they're driving. They're like, Val and Earl are leaving the Perfection. They're driving down to Bixby, and they stop by old Fred's house, and they see like all of his sheep just like eaten up, and there's blood everywhere. And they see old Fred's hat on the ground and lift it up. It's just his head, nothing else. And that the combination of that visual and the jump music playing, like, okay, that's creepy.
Yeah, that one stood out to me.
And
too.
then I think the other scene is when the doctor and his wife get eaten by the graboid. Just seeing, you know, the doctor just kind of like squirming, like knowing in pain, and when the wife is cowering in their truck, but the graboids still find a way to get him by burying the fucking truck. That's finally when you get the impression, okay, these guys are not to be messed with. These guys are serious. That was a pretty scary scene. Oh, creepy scene. There are a couple creepy scenes, yeah.
Definitely sounds creepy to me. Thank you.
Mike, did you have another question?
Well, first off, I also thought, I mean, it wasn't really creepy, but it was nice, very atmospheric when they find the guy dead on the tower.
Oh yeah, that was very atmospheric.
That was a cool scene. But okay, I mean, you know, they spend so much time hiding the graboids. When they actually do see them, you know, them for brief moments, what do you think of those shots? Do you think they pulled off the creature effect well enough?
For being 27 years old and having a budget of like less than $1 million, I'd say fuck yeah.
Actually, the budget was $11 million.
Oh, I thought it was lower than that. But anyway, I mean, yeah, for like a movie that
was made for that amount of money. So,
I mean, yeah, for a movie that was not meant to be taken seriously, I thought the graboids looked fantastic in that movie. I mean, it just goes to show you, like I think all of you mentioned, when done right, practical effects always look better than CGI. They always do. And you kind of see that as like the sequels progress, because up until the fifth one, the graboids just started to look like shit. They really did. So yeah, I mean, they were very well done in this movie.
I concur, actually.
Chris, did you have another question?
Yeah, I mean, since you're not being a big monster guy, big on art. I mean, you haven't seen a lot of monster movies, right?
Not a whole lot, no.
Well, I mean, these underground creatures, you know, of course, you know, in this movie, what stands out to them? What stands out about what? I mean, what's it about them that stands out to you about amongst other movie creatures? I mean, would you say that they're your favorite movie monsters, and if so, why?
Well, I mean, like I said, I haven't seen a whole lot because a lot of the movie monsters like Alien or, you know, The Thing, that would probably scare the shit out of me. So I mean, these guys, I mean, they're very good looking, they're definitely creepy, but I mean, I'm not gonna like piss my pants when I see them, you know. I mean, for those reasons, yeah. I mean, and that, and like, you know, the giant spiders from Eight-Legged Freaks were pretty cool, despite them being kind of scary too. But but again, that had a bit of a tongue-in-cheek aspect to it as well. So I mean, those kind of like creature features that have like a tongue-in-cheek aspect, I really don't mind those because it's being played.
Hey guys, I gotta go now. But I need to take care of a few things.
You come back in 5 minutes. It'll take me 5 minutes.
Hold on for a second.
Yeah, sure, no problem, my friend, no problem. All right, so yeah, that's. I hope that was a satisfactory answer. Mike, did you have another question?
No, actually, I think I agree with pretty much all your points here, honestly. So I didn't really have any more questions.
Okay, then. So real quick, I think before I wrap this up, not many people are aware of like how many of these movies have made. There have been 5 Tremors movies. made. So I think I'll rank them real quick. Obviously the first one's the best by a landslide. Second is the fifth one. I actually thought the fifth one, Bloodlines, was very good. Then the second one, then the third, and then the fourth just got awful. But that is how I would rank the 5 Tremors movies.
What about the TV series?
It was a TV series.
Yes, sir. I believe it starred Michael. I believe it starred Michael Gross.
Did Dad off of Family Ties?
Yeah, well, Michael Gross played.
Yeah,
he was in the first movie, right?
Yeah, he was the main.
5 of them.
He was the main character. Michael Gross starred in this TV series. I think it's it took place right at the according to this, it picks up right where Tremors 3 ended.
Interesting. Okay, I did not know. I've never seen that. I think I heard rumors that there was a series, but I wasn't sure if it was real, and I've never seen it, so I wouldn't be able to rank it.
Okay. Yeah, it only ran for like 13 episodes.
I figured as much. I found the fifth one surprisingly enjoyable. I would recommend it if you enjoy these movies. Like I said, the CGI is surprisingly good. The graboids look great. The ass blasters look great. Michael Gross is as fun as ever. So yeah, I would recommend it. It's on Netflix. You can find it there.
Paul.
Yeah.
A little bit additional information I just read. Apparently, this year, Sci-Fi announced they had ordered a pilot episode for a new series, new TV series based on Tremors, and it's said that Kevin Bacon will reprise his role.
Are they out of their fucking
minds? Really?
Are they out of their fucking minds?
In August 2000, and just last month, they announced that a Vincenzo Natali will direct the pilot.
If they can get Fred Ward to reprise his role, I'm in. I don't care what they're doing. If those two are together, I will watch it.
Yeah, all I can see is that Kevin Bacon will reprise his role.
Are they out of their fucking minds? The fuck?
Maybe.
You know what? Who knows?
Let me stop.
I will at least watch the pilot. I'll give it that.
Okay, then. All right, Colton. You are back just and almost wrap this up. Did you have any more questions? Because Chris and Mike are good.
I know I'm good. I'm sorry I had to leave for a second. My dad needed to use my computer for a moment, but I wanted to come back to this to make sure I didn't miss the end.
Okay. Not a problem. You did miss me rank the 5 Tremors movies. I had it 1, 5, 2, 3, 4. And apparently Sci-Fi is airing a new Tremors-based TV show with Kevin Bacon reprising his role. Mike just found that out.
Really?
Yes.
I can't decide if that means Kevin Bacon is desperate or if he's put the... Wow. So you rank the movies...
I don't mind you... Yeah, Chris, I don't mind you not liking it, but we get it.
So you rank the 5th movie second out of all the films?
Yeah.
Really?
I actually thought it was the best of the sequels, by far. And this comes from someone who has no shame in admitting he liked the second one. And to a lesser extent, he does enjoy the third. But I thought the 5th one was great. I mean, the CGI looked impressive. The graboids and ass blasters looked great. Michael Gross was fun as always. I thought it was a very good movie. Certainly not better than the original, but I thought it was a good watch. If you have Netflix, check it out. It's there.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I might get at least the first one to watch. It does look interesting in a fun way.
It's a fun movie. You won't regret it. All right, so that is going to wrap up our show, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank all of you for being here. Chris, I know you were late, but it was nice having you here.
It's great being here. It's just like I wasn't going to miss out this movie. It's just like, I mean, excuse me, on this episode, though. Yeah, but yeah, still great being here as always. Yeah.
All right. Colton, my friend, it was a pleasure having you here.
It was a pleasure to be here. I enjoyed this episode. I think I might go watch Alien now.
Might watch King Kong. I need to see that again. I love that movie.
All right, and Mike, it was a privilege as always having you here.
Hey, great to be here as well. I may watch Jaws again pretty soon as well, but I've actually got to watch through the Alien movies, all 4 of them, actually as many as I can find, because the next Geek Salad episode, which we're recording, I think, next week, is all about the Alien series.
To watch
The
Josh,
whole thing, or
to watch
Alien
Josh,
versus
you're gonna need a
Predator?
bigger TV.
What?
To watch Josh, you're gonna need a bigger TV.
Yeah.
So is it gonna be all?
Yeah,
You're doing all of them, or
the entire Aliens franchise. So we may even go into Prometheus and Alien Covenant, but
good luck to you guys.
I won't have good things to say about those.
All right, so we will, and even though he had to leave early, it was an absolute honor to have Caleb back with us. Hopefully he can join more often. So we will see you next week, guys. Until then, have a great day. Bye-bye.